I wanted to welcome you all here. It's great to be able to have this in this facility. We're pleased to host such a variety of manufacturing members, community and educational partners, political leaders. Thank them so much for their support. My name is Teresa Simons, and I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for Working Together Foundation. I would like to thank my Board of Directors for their continued commitment and support. If you could have heard them when they were walking in, they all walked in going, what can I do, what can I help with? And that's kind of the theme of everything here. If I could get our board members to stand up and be recognized. Thank you all for your commitment to serve. We really appreciate that. On behalf of our Board of Directors, I would like to thank you for attending the annual meeting. We appreciate your support and commitment to the continued growth of our manufacturing sector through training and increased awareness around the opportunities in manufacturing. AWT's mission is to promote the development of rewarding careers in manufacturing for the long-term success and growth of our community. We would like to thank our elected officials for working alongside AWT, many of whom have joined us today. Thank you for your continued support. Please stand and be recognized. Katie Berger is here with U.S. Congressman Dave Joyce's office. The Secretary of State, we won't make him stand because he'll be up here in a few minutes, but Secretary of State Frank LaRose. Representative Steve Dimitro. And all three of our Lane County Commissioners, Commissioner Hamerchuk, Commissioner Plechnik, and Commissioner Regovich. Thank you. We are proud of the collaborative relationship we share with the City of Mentor and Mentor Public Schools through our partnership with the Lakeshore Compact. And, you know, it's amazing how many times we're together with our partners at Mentor Schools. They have another big event this evening, so we don't have several of them with us today. But Bill Wade is here, and many of you know Joe Glavin. I know Joe was out there somewhere. I'm in the back. In the back. Thank you guys for being here. Is our city manager, Ken Flipiak, here? That's another great community member. He's always so involved, very engaged, and we appreciate his partnership as well. I would like to introduce, we have two sponsors. One of them was an event sponsor. Griffin Technologies is such an incredible part of this community. It was nice for me in coming to this organization to reconnect with John. I've probably known him a little over 20 years, and he's just an excellent individual. So, and I think I saw John Cruz. There you are. So Griffin Technologies was founded in 2001. By John Griffin. Griffin Technology Group is a group of passionate IT service professionals who provide technology services that help clients meet goals and grow their business. Our lunch sponsor for today is Process Technology. We're excited to showcase this company. They are a global US-based company focused on designing and manufacturing world-class thermal and power supply products. They are committed to creating quality products that are safe, precise, and clean for the industries that they serve. So I'd like to invite Sid Srivastatha, close enough, up to share a few words with us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. Any of you who has ever used a digital device, which is an iPhone, a computer, a server, all the chips, memories, processors made inside those devices have passed through process technology equipment. That's what we do, every single device. Most of the chips are manufactured in Asia, but the equipment for making those chips, the our part of it, which is the heaters, regulating chemical temperatures used in those chips, are made all here in Mentor, Ohio. We are growing very fast. We absolutely believe in the mission of AWT. We have hired 55 people this year. We hired about 80 people last year into manufacturing jobs here in Metro Ohio. And we are working towards obtaining grants with the CHIPS Act to expand our chip support manufacturing, again in the European metro area, and hire even more people. So thank you so much. We absolutely believe in your mission.
Thank you, Sid. That is exciting. There's so much going on in Ohio. It's always fun to be able to talk about it. So today I'm pleased to share that Ohio's Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, is our keynote speaker. Frank LaRose became Ohio's 51st Secretary of State on January 14, 2019, bringing to the office years of hard-earned leadership skills and public service developed as a U.S. Army Reservist, State Senator, U.S. Army Special Forces, Green Beret, and Eagle Scout. As Secretary of State, he oversees a statewide constitutional office responsible for administering elections and incorporating new businesses. Secretary LaRose principally serves as the state's chief elections officer, working with 88 boards of elections to ensure the security, accuracy, and accessibility of Ohio's voting process. In 2020, he helped guide the state through the unprecedented challenges of a presidential election conducted at the height of a global pandemic, successfully managing the highest voter turnout election in state history. Secretary LaRose also positioned Ohio as a leader in election security and vulnerability assessment, putting more resources than ever into cybersecurity improvements, data retention, and post-election audit protocols. He created the office's first public integrity division, launching a bipartisan election integrity task force, and empowering a full-time investigative unit to review alleged violations of state election laws. He authorized the most aggressive effort in the history of the office to ensure the accuracy of Ohio's voter rolls, requiring regular audits of registration data and working with the state attorney general to prevent and potentially prosecute non-citizen voting activity. Secretary LaRose also modernized the office's campaign finance disclosure system, improving the electronic accessibility and transparency of public records. And he became one of just 4 secretaries of state nationwide to win a coveted award for innovative voter outreach and poll worker recruitment programs. As the lead statewide agency responsible for helping businesses get organized and opened, Secretary LaRose's administration assisted job creators in registering more new ventures than any time in Ohio's history. He also worked with the General Assembly to enact the most significant business modernization reform since 1994, providing new options for organizing LLCs and improving the office's electronic filing system for business startup. Prior to his election as Secretary of State, LaRose served as a member of the State Senate, where he led efforts to increase government transparency and efficiency, particularly in the areas of election administration and regulatory reform. Among numerous recognitions, LaRose earned the Legislator of the Year award from the Ohio Association of Election Officials for his efforts to improve Ohio's election process. LaRose developed his strong work ethic and sense of responsibility at a young age while working on a small family-owned farm in Northeast Ohio. After graduating from Copley High School, he fulfilled a lifelong dream of enlisting in the United States Army with the 101st Airborne, ultimately serving as a U.S. Special Forces Green Beret. During his decade in uniform around the globe, LaRose received numerous commendations and honors, including the Bronze Star. He continues to serve as an Army Reservist and helps to support his fellow veterans and advance the cause of patriotism as a member of the VFW and as a local board member of the AWT Foundation. LaRose graduated from the Ohio State University with a degree in consumer affairs and business. A lifelong Northeast Ohioan, he now lives in Central Ohio with his wife Lauren and their 3 daughters. It is my distinct honor to introduce Ohio's Secretary of State, Frank LaRose.
Well, thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. My apologies that you had to listen to a long introduction like that. no reason why a 43-year-old should have a biology blog, and so my apologies. But thank you for the chance to get together today. And Roger and Allison in particular, thank you for your hospitality, and for all of you, thank you for being a part of this tremendous organization. I've been blown away by what I've seen this morning. I think you saw me over here playing with the drill press a minute ago. I would love to have a couple hours to stay here and do some work myself, because one of my favorite things from growing up was shop class. And the exposure that I got, unfortunately, too few of our students are getting. And as you know, that's a large part of what this alliance is all about. In fact, it's about destigmatizing, as the sign says on the wall, the manufacturing environment, showing young Ohioans that this is a great way to earn a living and a really rewarding career. I think there's nothing more satisfying than building something and being able to step back at the end of the day and say, I made that. That's really awesome. I think that for all of us that have had that experience, we know how rewarding it is, not to mention the fact that it is a great way to earn a living. Now, Ohio is a state that knows how to make things. We make things really well. We are a manufacturing powerhouse, and it's because of all of you. And I think that the future is bright for manufacturing in Ohio because of organizations like this, and candidly because of the work that's being done at both the local and the state level to help encourage this. I'm not going to spend my time talking all about all of those partnerships, because you all are aware of them, but I do think that they're very important, and I want to encourage you all to continue engaging with your local and state leaders to keep those kind of things going, those investments that happen at the local and state level in education and encouraging young people to get involved in manufacturing are so crucial, and this is just a testament to one of those. Being involved with organizations like the Ohio Manufacturing Association is so important, so you can make sure that your voice is heard down in Columbus at the state capitol. And so I appreciate you all for your leadership in this industry and for keeping Ohio moving forward as a state that knows how to build things and build high-quality things that are used all around the world. That's something that we can be proud of. In fact, Roger, we were walking over here, and I was grabbing things, and I was saying, this is made in Ohio. This is made in Ohio. If you've never had that opportunity, when you start to look around and point out things in everyday life that are made in Ohio, I found tools over here in this toolbox. I said, this is made in Barberton. And we found something else that was made in Ohio as well. Those Kennedy toolboxes are made in Western Ohio. That wrench that I was holding is made in Barberton. It's a fun exercise to go through all the things that truly are made in Ohio. Ohio manufacturing really does make a difference. And of course, education is crucial in that, preparing young people for those careers that they're going to have opportunities to work in. I don't mean to be insensitive by saying this, but I think it is a fair statement to say that if you are not working in today's economy, that you've made a decision not to work, right? I mean, barring some sort of mental or physical illness or disability or whatever else, but for able-bodied individuals, if you're not working in today's economy, you've simply decided that you don't want to work. And that's unfortunate. We need to make sure that people are continuing to come to work on a daily basis. That's one of the things that Ohio offers that I think sets us apart from other places. We have that Midwestern work ethic. Ohioans get up in the morning and they do an honest day's work. And yes, they expect an honest day's pay for it, but they'll come and work hard. And that's something that Ohioans need to continue to encourage in the next generation as well. But again, what I really wanted to talk about is another aspect of preparing young people for life, and that is not only involvement in careers, but involvement in citizenship. Because my role as the Ohio Secretary of State is really two things. Now, if you were to stop the average person on the street and ask them, what does the Ohio Secretary of State do? They would probably tell you, I don't know, negotiate peace treaties with Michigan. I can assure you that as a proud Buckeye, I would never negotiate peace with Michigan, but that's not also one of the responsibilities that the Ohio Constitution gives me. The Ohio Constitution does, however, make me responsible for two things that are really foundational to our way of life, two things that are fundamental to what it means to be an American, to be an Ohioan, two things that make me excited to get out of bed every morning and go to work to do this job. You see, the Ohio Secretary of State's role comes down to really two things. We help people vote, and we help people do business. Think about that. I mean, if there are a couple things that really encapsulate the American way of life, we help people vote. We help people engage in that fundamentally American exercise of self-government, where we choose our leaders through trustworthy, free, and fair elections. Being Ohio's Chief Elections Officer is something that I absolutely love. On the other side of this office, we help people do business. You get your articles of incorporation from the Ohio Secretary of State's office. So if you're one of those courageous people that dreams of starting your own business, and thank God for entrepreneurs, those are the lifeblood of our economy. If you're somebody that has that dream, that journey of entrepreneurship begins at the Ohio Secretary of State's office. I'm proud to say that we charge the lowest fees of any state of the Midwest, $99 to start a business. And usually you can get your articles of incorporation back within 24 hours. Contrast that to friends in other states, and you'll hear stories of high fees and massive bureaucracy that they have to go through. We know there's nothing easy about growing a business and being an entrepreneur, but we at least want to make that front door experience easy for new entrepreneurs here in the state of Ohio. And there are other things that we do to help encourage entrepreneurship as well here in Ohio. And those are things that, where I've worked to engage with our state legislature and help to improve the process for things like the MBE certification in Ohio. For example, prior to a bill that we did 2 years ago, it was just too bureaucratic and it took too many steps. And so we've been able to help streamline that to help minority and veteran and disabled entrepreneurs get their start and get a little boost when they do. And of course, one of the other things that we do is work to protect entrepreneurs. A lot of people don't realize this, but just as an individual can be the victim of identity theft, a business can also be the victim of identity theft. And I think we're all familiar with this concept of identity theft. If a bad guy gets a hold of your name and address and some financial account numbers or whatever else, you can engage in all kinds of trouble, and it takes a long time to unwind it. It can be a real mess. Well, businesses can also be the victims of identity theft. So Ohio, through the Secretary of State's office, has been really leading the charge on business identity theft prevention, not only helping to educate small business owners, but also building in some processes into our own systems that can identify when there is when there's a pattern that looks suspicious. I mean, I think any of us have ever gotten a call from our credit card company asking, "Did you really buy a surfboard in New Zealand last night? Because that doesn't sound like you, and we want to check before those charges go through." Well, we can do the same kind of process, or the same sort of pattern identification with business filings that come through our office to make sure that we notify a business if there is something that looks fraudulent in our business filings. For example, somebody trying to change your statutory agent or change the address of your LLC, we can notify you so that you can take action to prevent that kind of fraud from occurring. Now, the part of the office that people do identify probably more with is the work that I do as Ohio's Chief Elections Officer. I told you a minute ago really how transformative and fundamental the right to vote is. But think about this. Think about this. Through thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years that humans have been operating on this planet, it's only been for a small snapshot in time that normal men and women like us can choose who our leaders are going to be. Think about it. For thousands of years, the way that you got to be the person in charge was really only, one of two ways. You had to be the son of the guy in charge and wait for the old man to die, right? Or you had to get a bunch of people on horseback with swords and go kill the guy in charge to be the person in charge. I mean, for thousands of years, that's how power transferred from one set of hands to another. Now think about this. Now for the last 245 years here in the United States of America, we have had what we call a democracy. We know that for more than half of that history, we didn't do it right because people were excluded from it, but because the United States is all about continuous improvement, written right there into our founding documents where it talks about creating a more perfect union, right, where each generation works to make it better. We've been able to grow to a point where now we live in a time where every man and every woman over the age of 18 who's a United States citizen can truly make their voice heard in a free and fair election. What a remarkable thing that is. What a powerful thing that is. Think about this another way. I had the chance to speak to a group of high school students a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to them about truly what an election is. And it reminded me of the form that I had filled out when I was applying for my first security clearance. Many years ago, I hold a top secret clearance because of my work in the Army, but when I had to apply for that, there's this 100-page long questionnaire. They want to know everything about you, your high school football coach, your first job, your mother's middle name. I mean, they want to know everything about you. And one of the questions, at the end, there's a bunch of yes and no questions. This one always struck me as odd. Somewhere buried in these hundreds of questions, yes or no, they ask a very blunt question. They say, have you ever plotted the overthrow of the government? Wow. Okay. And so you know what they're asking. They're asking, are you part of some terrorist group that's involved in, violent overthrow of the government or what have you? And obviously, that would be a disqualifier if you're seeking a security clearance. But think about this. Anybody that's ever worked on a political campaign, anybody that's ever run for public office, anybody that's ever voted for a candidate who was not the incumbent, isn't that the overthrow of the government? Isn't an election every few years the opportunity to peacefully overthrow the government? I mean, think about it. When you take one group of leaders and say, you're out of here, and you bring in another group of leaders, that is the peaceful overthrow of the government. And in that sense, an election is an enormously powerful thing. An election has great power and great opportunity for change. But people need to know and trust that their elections are honest. They need to know that they're accessible and honest. And by the way, that's the balance that we strike here in Ohio. There's too much hyperbole out there. There's too much noise from both the left and the right. You should be able to get Republicans and Democrats to agree that we want voter fraud to be rare and we want voter suppression to be rare. Those are two things that should be just common sense. We don't want anybody cheating, and we don't want anybody prevented from voting unnecessarily. But too often, partisan voices, strident partisan voices on both the left and the right offer a false choice. They tell you that you have to choose between either a secure election or a convenient election. Nonsense. I reject that entire paradigm. You don't have to choose secure or convenient. In Ohio, we run elections that are secure and convenient. Another way to say this is we make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. That should be something that Democrats and Republicans can agree on. And by the way, that's what we deliver in Ohio. And I want to talk to you about that a little bit and maybe help inform all of you, because let's be honest, we all have a family member who probably forwards some junk emails or shares some wild conspiracy theories that they have. So here are the facts. Here are some of the things that we do to make the process honest. First of all, it starts with bipartisan oversight. I'm going to be visiting the Lake County Board of Elections after this. And again, commissioners, thank you for all that you do to support the County Board of Elections. You've got a very dedicated team there. But the other 87 boards of elections work the same way. Everything at the Board of Elections is completely bipartisan. That's the foundation for how we run elections. Now, just across the border in Pennsylvania, they don't have that. In other states, many other states, the elections are run by a local county elected official. In many states, the county clerk runs the elections. And if the county clerk's a Democrat, everybody that works in the elections office is a Democrat. Or if the county clerk's a Republican, then everybody that works there is a Republican. That's a crazy idea to us in Ohio. We would never do it that way. Everything is bipartisan. Down to the people who check you in when you get to your polling location at 7:30 at night when the results are when the elections are done. They have to gather up all the results and take them down to the Board of Elections. And yes, you have to have both a Republican and a Democrat in the car together. This was one of the things that people tried to get away from in the pandemic. And they said, oh, I don't want to be in a car with another person. Well, you just met with them for like 15 hours running the polling location. But we told people we're never going to break that bipartisan chain of custody. And so, of course, you have to have a Republican and a Democrat in the car to take the election materials downtown. Even the board office, the building itself, is bipartisan. And you're thinking, what are you talking about, LaRose? How can a building be bipartisan? Well, if you go to your Board of Elections, you'll see two locks on every door. Each one corresponds with a different key. The Republicans have a Republican key, the Democrats have a Democrat key. You have to have both keys to even unlock the door. It's like those submarine movies from the 80s where it takes 2 keys to launch the torpedo. You've got to have representatives from both parties present to even walk into the door where the election machines are kept, or where the tabulation equipment is, or where the ballots are printed. So bipartisan oversight is an important part of this process, but it's also important for Ohioans to know that voting machines, for example, are never connected to the internet. That's one of the greatest myths that's out there, that there's somehow this internet-connected voting machine. We would never allow a voting machine to be connected to the internet. In fact, it's a felony under Ohio's law to connect a voting machine to the internet. We don't buy machines that have that capability built into them. But even that isn't good enough for us. We test them before each election. In fact, we have an election coming up in May, as you all know. And so right now, all around the state, boards of elections are running through the checklist. And yes, a Republican and a Democrat take each machine out, they fire it up, they run a sample ballot through it, they run it through the checklist, and once they've completed that, they put tamper evidence seals on it, they put it back into the storage where it is double locked with a Republican key and a Democratic key. That's just one part of the process, because also after Election Day, we go through and do a post-election audit. Now, when we do this post-election audit, that means that sitting at folding tables like these at your board of elections is a Republican and a Democrat, and we count the hard copy paper ballots. Yes, 100% of Ohio's ballots are on paper. Dead tree, wet ink, hard copy paper ballots, and that gives us the ability to go back and check to make sure that the election was accurate that was reported on election night. Now, I've had some people say, let's get rid of voting machines altogether. Let's just count the ballots by hand. There's a couple of reasons why you don't want to do that. First of all, if you had to count all of the ballots by hand, you wouldn't know the winner until like Thanksgiving. Nobody would be happy about that. But the other thing is, those voting machines do a more accurate job, honestly, of counting ballots than a human could. Because if you look at your ballot, there may be 15, 20 different things on there between candidates and issues and whatever else. And so to do that with a hand count of those would actually result in human errors that would be problematic. So we don't just consider the voting machine the final order. We go back 3 weeks later and we count and make sure that it matches up. We call that a post-election audit. And when we conduct that audit, where we count the hard copy paper and compare it to the electronic results side by side, we've routinely had an accuracy rate above 99%. 99.9%, as a matter of fact, was the average in 2022. In 2020 presidential election and local elections, the result of that post-election audit was 99.98. Now, I know we've got a room with a lot of machinists and engineers and analytical thinkers, and you're like, all right, LaRose, 99.98. Explain where that 0.02 comes from. How do you have such an inaccuracy of 0.02%? Well, it falls into the category of stupid things that humans do, right? I'll give you my favorite example. My favorite example comes from Toledo, and I'm not trying to pick on the Glass City because this happens in other places, but there was an example in 2020 of a ballot in Toledo, an absentee ballot, somebody that voted from home, and they filled out their absentee ballot with a pink glitter pen. This sounds like something my 7-year-old daughter would do. Do not fill out your ballot with a pink glitter pen. But on election night, when it went through the scanner, and for the results that you get on election night, the scanner read it as a blank ballot. The glitter reflected the laser, and it thought that it was blank going through the machine. Of course, when humans were counting it, they saw, no, that's pink glitter, and that's a vote for candidate X or candidate Y, and so they were able to ultimately count the ballot as part of the final tabulation. Those kinds of things are how you get an error rate of 0.02. But I think suffice to say that Ohio runs highly honest and accurate elections. A few other things that we do that I think are common sense things. Other states aren't doing this. Ohio is leading the way on many aspects of elections administration. We maintain accurate lists. This is hard work. It's like hygiene. It's like brushing your teeth every day. We work every day to maintain accurate voter rolls. And by the way, it shouldn't be controversial, but we remove dead people from the voter rolls on a monthly basis. I don't know why, for some reason, that gets some people's ire up, but that's a process that is tried and true. We run it through the Ohio Department of Health. They send me a list of the people that have died that month. I disaggregate that and send it out to all 88 county boards of elections and say, thou shalt remove these deceased voters. Now, of course, with any kind of data involving people, there's always going to be imperfections. So, for example, if somebody is out of state on vacation when they become deceased, then that wouldn't be reflected in the Ohio death records. And so we have a backup plan of 6 years of inactivity. If you don't participate in elections for 6 years, if you don't sign a petition, if you don't update your driver's license or renew your driver's license, basically if you just drop off the face of the earth for 6 years, then yes, we remove that from the voter rolls. Again, this shouldn't be controversial. Unfortunately, some partisans use words like purge to describe this, and it sounds really ominous and scary. It's not. It's removing bad data from the voter rolls, and it's a 6-year look back. And by the way, we send multiple mailings to say, we'd like to keep you as a registered voter. If you're still alive, just throw your hand up and let us see you, and once you do that, we'll keep you on the voter roll. And of course, if we don't hear back from them, then they get removed from the voter rolls. Just a month ago exactly, we removed about 125,000 records from the voter rolls for that purpose. This is, again, one of the things that Ohio does that other states should emulate. Unfortunately, in some other states, they have, because of the political sensitivities of it, stopped doing voter list maintenance. And there are places in California where there are counties that have more registered voters than citizens. That leaves the door open to fraud and causes great cause for concern. One of the other things that we do in Ohio is make sure that only citizens can be registered to vote. Again, this is a nation of immigrants, proudly so, and I'll be the first one to come to a naturalization ceremony. And the moment you take that oath and join our big American family, I'll hand you a voter registration form, but not a moment before that, because citizenship has status. Citizenship matters, and of course, we believe that elections are only open to U.S. citizens. So we do an annual inspection of voter rolls to remove non-citizens. And guess what? Because of all of these things, we've kept voter fraud really rare in Ohio. In fact, during my 4 years in office, I've referred just about 630 individuals for prosecution and turned them over to law enforcement because we believe that they're forging signatures or voting on behalf of a dead relative or maybe trying to vote in 2 states at the same time. The good news is we catch them and they face justice for it. But the other good news is that voter fraud is rare. There are nearly 8 million registered voters in Ohio. Again, I told you that I've referred 630 individuals for law enforcement action. And so what that tells you is that the rate of voter fraud is 0.000 something %. And this is something that Ohioans, again, can be proud of. Let me end with this, because there are a couple of calls to action that I want to share with you. And if it's all right with you, I'd be happy to take questions. I don't know if I can debunk anybody's conspiracy theories or prove that there's not a secret Venezuelan algorithm in the voting machines or anything. But so a couple of calls to action for you. This thing called democracy belongs to all of us. And we get the kind of government that we deserve. We get the kind of government that we demand, right? And we need to help encourage people to be more involved in elections. And not just every 4 years. I get it. Everybody gets really worked up about who's going to go live in the White House, and that's important. Don't get me wrong. As a soldier, I care deeply about who my commander-in-chief is. But as much as it matters who lives in the White House, what matters probably more in our daily lives is who works at the courthouse, or the schoolhouse, or the state house. These local elections really, really make a difference. But the drop-off from a presidential election to a local election is really incredible. We need to encourage more people, and we probably don't admit that we probably can admit that we don't remember the first time we voted. Most of us did it maybe at 18, 19, 20 years old. My guess is it wasn't your original idea at 18, 19, 20 years old. My guess is somebody encouraged you, a parent, a grandparent, a coach, a minister, a teacher. Somebody encouraged you to go be a voter. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to talk to a young person in your life and remind them how important it is. Heck, maybe your own kids or grandkids are not registered to vote and turned 18 recently. Remind them that all they've got to do is go to our website, voteohio.gov. It takes about 2 minutes. Like the time it would take them to organize their sock drawer or something, and they can become a registered voter. It's that simple at voteohio.gov. And it's a good thing, again, to remind people to do that. But there's another kind of next level thing that I want to encourage you all to think about as well. Any guesses how many people it takes to run election day? Anybody have a guess? How many Ohioans routinely, twice a year, statewide, how many people does it take to run election day? 20,000? Good guess, right? Twice that. It's about 40,000 people. We open 4,000 polling locations at 6:30 a.m. We run until 7:30 p.m. And then there's the staff back at the Board of Elections as well. It takes about 40,000 Ohioans. Think about the massive mobilization. Any fellow veterans here today? All right, that's like a couple infantry divisions worth of poll workers, right? I mean, it's a big, big mobilization of people. 40,000 people is what it takes to run elections. Half Democrats, half Republicans, all patriots that put in a long day's work and do this really, really important job. I'd encourage you to consider signing up to be a poll worker. There's a couple of good reasons to do it. One is you will become a legit election expert. You will understand at a deeper level how this stuff works and why I can stand in front of you without a moment's hesitation and talk about how secure Ohio's elections are. You will experience that firsthand as a poll worker, as an election official, but also it's a real feeling of satisfaction. I told you earlier in this about how manufacturing creates that sense of satisfaction when you build something tangible and make it and see it, how wonderful that is. Well, I think you would have a similar feeling when you go home 8:30, 9 o'clock on election night and you kick back in your lazy boy and you flip on your favorite TV station and you see those results come scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You will know that you were part of the team that delivered that and made that happen. And that's the true voice, the will of the people of Ohio being represented in that little scroll coming across the bottom of the screen. Many of you are business owners, and I know that particularly in manufacturing, you struggle in some cases to find enough people to come to work and to do these important jobs. But I'd also encourage you to consider something that we call Give a Day for Democracy. I'm sure many of you have an HR, you're required to by law actually, have an HR policy that you allow military reservists time off to fulfill their reserve obligation. Well, this is the same thing, but for poll workers. And we've been able to get hundreds of Ohio companies to commit to this. We call it Give a Day for Democracy. And just consider talking to your HR manager about adding a provision in your employee policies that would allow people a free day off to be an election day poll worker. Again, that may be the difference for folks, versus sort of spending one of their vacation days or personal days for that, allowing them the day off to be a poll worker. And, I've been going up the scale. Voting is sort of the bare minimum. Being a poll worker takes it to the next level. I seriously hope that some of you would consider taking it to the next level above that even. And that is running for public office. I know what you're thinking. Oh, my God, I would never think of doing such a thing. Well, that was me just 15 years ago when I was an active duty soldier. I had no idea that I would do this. But we need people with your background and experience. We need people that understand how challenging it is to grow and build a business. We need people with those business sense that you have to go into government. So consider running for office. You may find that it's more accessible than you realize it is. Now, it's a lot of hard work, but we need good people to run for office. So, and this is an offer that stands for both Republicans and Democrats and libertarians and vegetarians. I don't care what you are. If you're interested in running for public office and you don't know where to start and you just want to know how, please contact me. My email address couldn't be easier. It's just frank@ohiosos.gov. First name frank@ohiosos.gov. If you have a question about how to run for office, you want to run for school board, you want to run for local office, we'd love to talk you through the process, and we could use you. We need good people to get involved. So with that, it's an honor to stand in front of you this afternoon. Thank you for the work that you all do to move manufacturing forward in Ohio. I look forward to any questions that you all have for me. Thank you so much. Only tough ones. Yes?
Oh, I'm sorry. The UOCOMA balance, would you like to?
If you can tell me what that acronym stands for.
Okay, hold on. Uniform, hold on. Outside. All
right, I'll give you a lifeline. UOCOMA is an acronym that stands for Uniform, Civilian, Uniform and Civilian, Overseas. Okay, God, I don't know what it means either. All right, so UOCOMA is a complicated acronym. It means Overseas Military and Civilian Voters, right? And actually, this was my first involvement in election law. The funny thing is, we've got a term-limited state legislature there's the good news is that it brings in talented, fresh new voices like Steve Dimitrio in your community, but it also means that you only get a few years there before you hit your expiration date. And so the funny thing about the term limited state legislature is that once you develop any credibility and expertise in an area, that becomes your thing. And so I was lucky that the thing that became the thing I was known for was election law, because I love it. But the way it started, I was the only veteran in the state Senate in 2011, believe it or not. And John Husted, who was our Secretary of State at the time, now Lieutenant Governor, he said, Frank, we've got to fix overseas military voting. It's too cumbersome, and you would be the right guy to do it because you've done it before. And I can tell a personal story that I have told, how in 2000, I was a young sergeant in the Army. I was 20 years old, and somebody messed up some paperwork and accidentally made me a sergeant, so I was old enough to lead in combat, but not old enough to drink a beer. But I requested my military absentee ballot in like mid-October. And sure enough, it showed up in Kosovo in like December, when it was way too late to cast a ballot. I'm sure it sat in the back of somebody's Humvee for like weeks and never got to me. But so I wanted to make sure that we made that process better. And so that was the bill that I did. In Ohio, we make it really easy for our overseas personnel. And often one of the things that we rely on is families, moms in particular, for our deployed service members to encourage their loved ones. Thank God for moms in a whole lot of ways. But moms are the ones that often say, hey, you can request your absentee ballot right now. 46 days before the election is when we start sending out those overseas and military ballots, which means it's just like a week and a half, 2 weeks away. We'll be sending out absentee ballots already for the spring primary. And so we also try to make the process easy. We can actually email you, if you're overseas with the military, your absentee ballot. Now, you have to physically print it, and that's a security thing, because we need a hard copy of it back with your original signature on it. But we can cut the transit time in half by emailing it to you. You can print it out and mail it back. And then there's still 4 days after the election for the absentee ballots to come in, and that's something that Ohio's really, I think does really well. Thanks for the question, Commissioner. Other questions? Well, you're thinking of one. I should add something that Ohio made a change recently that changes the identification requirements when you go to vote. I told you earlier there's a bunch of noise and hyperbole out there in election land about these things. This is one of those examples. Ohioans, for a long time, have been accustomed to showing their driver's license or state ID when they go to vote. In fact, the numbers that we've seen is usually averages around 98% of people. I'm sure all of us carry a state ID or driver's license. It's the thing that you use to check into your polling location. There was always also a backup plan. You could use a utility bill or pay stub or government documents of different kinds. Well, the state legislature joined many other states in the country that require strictly a photo ID. You have to have a government-issued photo ID. And that takes effect in this May's primary. So if you vote in person, if you vote by mail still, it's the same as that you've always been accustomed to. But if you vote in person, you have to bring your state ID or driver's license. There's a couple backup plans. If you don't have one, if you're part of that very small sliver of the population that doesn't have one, then you can get one for free, right? You can go to the BMV and get a free state ID, so that's a good thing. And let's just say the dog eats it on election day and you lose it or whatever else. You drop it down the window crack of your car, right, or something. If that happens, then you cast what's called a provisional ballot. All that means is that it goes in a separate envelope and it doesn't count until you come down to the Board of Elections and prove your ID. You got a couple days to do that. So we really want to make sure that nobody's left out of this. You'll hear a lot of noise about this, and there's currently a lawsuit. One of the strange things about my job is you get sued a lot by people from out of state that want to tinker with the way that we run our elections. And so that's one of those lawsuits that's happening right now. But in Ohio, you are now required to show a photo ID. Last call. Other questions? God bless you all. Thanks for all you do. Take a call. All right, one more. Sorry.
Yeah, we have one over.
All right, now you got to ask a question.
Wasn't me, Frank.
We have one over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You referred to shop being one of your favorite programs in school as a youngster. What's the state of Ohio doing to incorporate that more into our school systems now for our kids?
Yeah, so not an expert on Ohio education. I am on elections and new business formation and that kind of thing. But I know that this is not a glitch, it's a feature of Ohio, is that things are very locally controlled, right? We want that local control. control. We don't necessarily want people in Columbus mandating how things work. And so what that means is that curriculum is controlled at the local level. This is why school board matters so much. This is why running for school board matters. I do know that the state offers funding to encourage things. In some cases, they mandate things. Of course, anybody that's ever been around public education knows that like the worst thing, according to local public education professionals, is the unfunded mandate. If you say thou shalt do this, but then don't offer funding to go along with it. And so if there is something that the state's doing to require it, they should also be offering funding for it, right? But really the best thing to do is to work at the local level to remind them how important it is. And it's not just because we need a lot of people making sheet metal dustpans, but it's because that's what we all had to do in shop class, right? With the rivets and the brake and all that. Anyway, it's not just about making the sheet metal dustpans, it's about exposing young people to that very basic first opportunity. And they light a spark for them that, wow, I enjoy building things, or wow, how cool is it that I welded this, or that I know how to operate a drill press, for example. So local level engagement with that is crucial. Yeah. All right, thanks everybody. God bless.
Thank you, Secretary LaRose, and thank you for your service and for all those in here that served for us. See if I can do this without the phone. All right, so when I was going through getting ready for this, I thought, you feel like you're running constantly, all day long, super fast. All the board members know what goes on behind the scenes here, and they used to talk about, I don't know what we did. And when I go through and look at it, it is absolutely amazing what AWT has accomplished over the course of the 20 plus years, but then also even in this last year. So I can imagine what's gone on in previous years. A little fun thing, while I'm giving you some background, there's an AWT candy jar on your table and a little sheet of paper if you want to write down your name and your guess. At the end, I'll let you know. Whoever's closest without going over is welcome to take it with them or gift it to a friend. They are all sixlets, so if you have any allergies, they're safe for anyone. It's exciting. We're happy to be in our 21st year now. In early 2020, or 20, no, it's not even 20, in early 2002, like we're so far now, is when this started, right? Roger gathered a small group of manufacturers to discuss topics of interest and landed on the fact that we need to focus on people, having them trained, making sure that we're filling that skills gap for the future. And now we're starting to hit some of that. Several companies in this room have people that are retiring, so the importance of the apprenticeship is so much more. With the help of our strategic partners, we have placed over 1,000 people into manufacturing careers during the term of AWT. We do quite a bit with 5th and 6th graders. We're up over 300 that we've exposed to manufacturing through STEM camps in this area. The past year was incredible for us by exposing young people to manufacturing early. We continue to strengthen the future of our region. We're proud of our apprenticeship program. In 2022, we were able to work with our friends and partners at Auburn Career Center and Lakeland Community College. They were a great support in housing our apprentices while we anticipated the opening of this facility. And we're excited to have them here working in the apprenticeship program in the machining labs Monday through Thursday and in the classroom on the other side. And we continue to work with Lakeland and Auburn to try to make sure that we're all moving ahead. Part of our EDA Good Jobs Challenge grant involves Auburn Career Center, and so we had worked in some equipment funding for that, and we're very close to issuing I think it's $150,000 to help update their advanced manufacturing lab. Lakeland Community College, we continue to look at partnerships and ways we can work together on a daily basis. Right now, through the end of 2022, we have 5 apprenticeship cohorts. We launched another one early in February, and there will be 2 more as we go into fall. The Robobots and Junior Bots program saw the competition back at Lakeland this past year. As we were going through the planning, it was still masked and it had to be limited. This year, we're looking forward to it being open to the public. So Allison tells me it's like nothing I've ever seen. So it seemed pretty big to me last year, but we'll see how that goes. That'll be the end of April. During 22, we participated in many outreach events and local school districts in Lake and Geauga County. There were a number of virtual career fairs. I'm pleased to say that LEAF, the Lake Educational, LE Assistance Foundation, I know when I was going through school and when my daughter was in school, it was a lot of, how you fill out the FAFSA, when you need to tour colleges. And now they're incorporating manufacturing as a career pathway. And AWT has a big hand in making sure that message gets out to the students in the schools. Our SMI camps happened last year. We had actually more students than we had capacity for 1 week. So we went ahead and did it with 31 students, hired additional camp counselors, and made that work. So we had 56 students come through the 2 weeks of camp. And so many, if anybody's ever interested in hosting those SMI camps at their facility, we do tours in the facilities, or in the case of like Avery Dennison couldn't have people come into the facility, so there's people that come to us. So if that's something you're interested in, that's a great experience, and the kids really enjoy seeing the connection between STEM and manufacturing. We saw the 9th annual Manufacturing Expo. We work in collaboration with Willoughby, Western Lake County, Eastern Lake County, and Mentor Chambers to put that on. We had 45 manufacturing businesses that were there and almost 600 students that came through. Some of those students received internships or part-time or full-time jobs through that particular event. So that's always the first Thursday of October. It's Manufacturing Week, so you can always count on that. This year it's going to be at Harvey High School. So that'll be good if you're interested in that. That's also part of membership too. In some of those packages, you'll get that table fee taken care of. I was going through the funding information, and it was amazing to me all the things we've done. We're still working through the Scaling Apprenticeship Grant, which was U.S. Department of Labor had decided to revitalize the apprenticeship programs in America. So that was a grant that we received. We're finishing up on that June of this year, and very grateful to have received the Good Jobs Challenge grant to kind of pick up where that leaves off. But by the time we're done with that, it'll be over 150 people that we've trained through that program. Our STEM to Career grant, we're finishing that up. That has been a great piece to help support those SMI camps and some of our other STEM to Career initiatives. That comes through the operating budget. So we're in conversation with several of our elected officials talking about the next biennium budget. We received a grant from the AWT Foundation. Mike Mulroy, who's one of our board members, I don't think he's here today, was just a great advocate for AWT in receiving that. We also received a Mentor Economic Assistance Grant just after we got in here through the help of Kevin Malachek and some of the people at the City of Mentor. We were pleased to see an Ohio Registered Apprenticeship Incentive Program grant. It was a reimbursement for anything that we had incurred that hadn't already been reimbursed from July of 2020 till now in our apprenticeship programs. We were able to receive $2,500 per apprentice up to 10. We could have submitted dozens and dozens and dozens of apprentices, but capped at 10. So that $25,000 came back to us, which is nice. The EDA Good Jobs Challenge is a big focus of ours now. It is part of the Federal American Rescue Plan funds. And the overall award was $23.5 million granted to the Ohio Manufacturing Association for 3 years. It's for workforce development, an action plan focused on recruiting and upskilling manufacturing workers across the state. We're working together with our Career Center, that's the $150,000. We will work on doing some additional equipment here for the other $150,000, and the remaining $630,000 will be spread across 3 years of programming. Some of that will be the upskilling that we do in the apprenticeship program, but we're also launching Work Advance through this grant, which I'm very excited about, and Kaylin's been working on a lot. It's a short-term boot camp style program. The participants will learn soft skills, earn a certified manufacturing associate credential, and connect with manufacturing companies for interviews. Wraparound services are available throughout that first year of employment as well. So trying to make sure that as people maybe come out of other industries where they're not accustomed to manufacturing, we're giving them that coaching and counseling, as well as some other wraparound services such as transportation, childcare, making sure that they don't have a barrier that's going to keep them out of manufacturing. We received the 2020 state capital funds, and that was applied to the building of this facility. We were also granted the 2022 state capital funds. It's been awarded, we haven't seen it yet. When it gets here, it will be to further offset the cost of building a building. If you've built, you know, and I know when we were doing the equipment, Mike Davinoff, who works at Freedom, gave me a heart attack that kind of comes back to me every once in a while. He said, well, once you buy the equipment, it takes about 20% of the cost of the equipment to get it up and running. You know, and so that I started doing the math on that, it's a lot. So it'll be nice to get that money coming in. International Paper is a great supporter of STEM initiatives and granted us $3,500, which went towards our robots programs. We celebrated the ribbon cutting on Manufacturing Day. That was an incredible day to be able to share finally all of these little pieces. This facility provides training and pathways for Northeast Ohio collective skilled manufacturing labor force and serves as a hub for workforce development. So it's our goal to continue to work together with our friends at the county, private business, local organizations, to make sure that we're serving the people in the community as best we can. During the year, we hosted a number of events reaching over 700 people. Remember, we cut the ribbon on this October 7th, and we just kept going. And so I was going through the list of it. We had a visit, well, this one is before, but we had a visit with the Lieutenant Governor coming here in April. And I remember Joe Laban brought over tables and chairs from Mentor schools. And so we would have some place to sit. It was a big empty brick structure. Did we have windows? Maybe we had windows at that point. Just crazy. But we collaborated with our friends at the City of Mentor on a number of events, including an international trade visit from the Nottingham delegation. A number of board members participated in the Northern Ireland delegation, and AWT Roundtable in September, just before this opened. The first meeting we hosted in this new facility after the ribbon cutting was a meeting of the full team of the LEAF advisors on October 17th. So you can see the shift. They gathered all the information they could, and those are the individuals that are going to go into the classrooms talking to kids about career opportunities, pathways after graduation. So I think that that's so valuable to be able to reach those individual students. Let's see. In October, we hosted the Mentor Chamber, and then we had a full house with the City of Mentor Business Appreciation After Hours event on November 14th, and then Lake County Safety Council meeting on emerging technologies. I feel like I've become an event center. So, and which we're happy about. If there's something that you're interested in doing, and we'd love to partner with you. I'm just very grateful these chairs and tables are on wheels because it's a lot of work to set up and move, because then this will flip to a classroom this afternoon. The Alliance for Working Together has an active and engaged membership. We believe the key to our success is our ability to come together, pool our resources, and share ideas. We welcomed many new members in 22, and many of them had said how helpful it was for them to be able to connect with people in the community through this organization. Our 8th annual golf outing had to be moved to May last year because they were doing some construction at the club in August, which is our normal time. It was an incredibly beautiful day. It's a great course, Portland Country Club. If you've golfed it, you know. And if not, then make sure you check out membership because that's a really nice perk. It's a great time, a good time to connect. We also, had the energy of the ribbon cutting. We had the holiday mixer. It was so nice to have it here. Just before the holiday mixer started, we had a new member join. It happened to be Lake Erie Distillery. And so we jokingly said, could you bring samples? And they did. So there's always something unique when we get together. As we were looking at this, there's so many things that were going on. Those are things that we've done, that's where we've been. There are so many great things going on as we look forward. I want to thank all of you for your support. There's no way I could do this. We run such a lean crew, and I have to say, thanks to my board, we ended up hiring Kaylin. You want to stand up? This is Kaylin Clark. This is our new program manager. And it's not easy to find the right person and go through the interview process and stuff. But even with the hiring of Kaylin, there's 3 people that work at AWT. So when you see all of this, it takes everyone's input and help, and so I greatly appreciate that. It's hard to explain everything that went into this. There's so many lists of things. It's been akin to pushing a boulder up a hill at times. But we're proud of the work that's gone in and everything everyone's done. It was important to build this facility for the future of manufacturing. We'll continue to work each day to provide opportunities for students to explore through STEM initiatives, now healthcare. We'll continue to train apprentices and provide manufacturing classes. We'll continue to expand, including interactive offerings that encourage excitement and interactivity for any size audience or age. As a nonprofit, being creative in how you gather things and build partnerships is really important. So incredibly proud of Steve Dome. We just always kind of jokingly challenge him. It's like, oh, can you find it free? He crafted unique, mutually beneficial programs with the Edge Factor and also with Mentor Rocks. So for the next year, we'll do a bunch of things through Mentor Rocks, gain that exposure. I'll probably reach out to a bunch of you to see if you want to be involved. And having Edge Factor on our touch screens in the hallway will be really nice. That'll be a good interactive piece. So thank you, Stevie. I know you're hiding back there. We are fortunate to have a dedicated board who's passionate about promoting manufacturing. And I'm so happy to introduce our newest board member, Philip Fulgenzi. Phil, you want to stand up? We talk about a small world. So he's had such an incredible journey. You'll have to ask him about it. But he actually went through apprenticeship. He's been in many areas of Lincoln Electric and is just really excited and invested in giving back to the manufacturing community that has done so much for him. And in Small World, there's this whole connection between our instructor, Stan, was Phil's mentor originally at Lincoln. Everyone's connected, very, very small world. So thank you, Phil, for joining us. We did have 2 members that came off of our board, Ryan Ellis and Jen Roan. Ryan was always incredibly involved with outreach. He spoke on numerous occasions for AWT, promoting rewarding careers and connecting, especially students, with different manufacturing opportunities. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Ryan moved on from Lincoln. He is at a company that's no longer in our area, so that's why he's not with us anymore. Jen has a passion for supporting the education of youth and remains involved in our SMI camps. Each year, Jen sends a group of female engineers to our SMI camp, the Girls Only Week. and they do hands-on projects with them, and it's always one of the favorites. Jen is just incredibly well respected in manufacturing. She runs the Avery Dennison plant in Painesville, and over this last year has picked up supervising 2 other manufacturing facilities in neighboring states. So you can see why she needed to step aside from the board, at least for now. But love her involvement. I know it's one of your favorites, Roger. Our apprenticeship will continue to grow this year. As I mentioned, we'll do the cohort that we opened in February was a specific cohort for a company. They bought out the whole cohort. We have another company that's doing that for fall, and then we'll do a mixed cohort. When we talk to other industry sector partners in the state of Ohio, so the other ISPs are experiencing the same thing we are. They're doing apprenticeship training in classes, and one of the things that always comes up, probably just about every call, is how do you find people to train these people? It's great, you need to gather the people, they need the training, how do you find people to train? And so we changed our format and split up the in-class online portion of the classes from the machining labs. And as soon as we did that, we went from 2 instructors in early 2022 to 6 instructors now. So we have a pool of people that can jump in and cover and help, and by fall we should have 10. The goal is to make sure that we are poised to be flexible, make sure we can do the training that you need as manufacturers without relying on one particular person. So I'm really excited about one of the things I said early on when we kind of walked through this building. I said, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? I want to have a menu of services, of classes that are relevant to all of you, where you can put somebody through for one class or a series of classes and upskill those workers immediately. So that is something that we have added just recently, and you'll see there's a board up here. You can actually scan the QR code and register. We're offering classes in Gibbs Cam training. We're fortunate to have a partnership with Virtual Manufacturing, and Bill Reed is here. He is going to be teaching those classes. Just so incredibly impressed with you. So we appreciate that partnership. We'll do blueprint reading, SolidWorks, CAD/CAM classes, GD&T, and if you need OSHA training, we can get you connected with that as well. So one of the things about that is we want to make sure that we're offering the things that are relevant to you. So if there's something that you would like to see a class in, let us know. You reach out directly to Kaylin or myself, and just let us know, because we're trying to figure out, we want to offer those things that are going to be of value to you. We'll fill up a mixed class, do the class, and move on. In many cases, the instructors are then available to follow up with those students later, and we do have some online components that are companions to that. I'm excited to, we all love Lake Tran. They're a great resource in the community, and probably spring to summer, we will see the construction of a Lake Tran shelter straight out at the end, not the driveway side, the other side, and it will be connected to the training center with a sidewalk. So just continuing to make things more accessible, hopefully that'll bring more people here. So we have a number of dates coming up that are important. They're on our website, I'll skip through those. But there's so many opportunities for you to get involved. You can be a member. We have a lot of different membership packages. When you look at the membership, there's all these different opportunities to also sponsor and support different events. If you look at those and it doesn't look like, well, I like this, but I don't like that, just contact me. I am happy to customize it, and I've done that for a few of you here, to something that works for you, because we want you to volunteer or support where your passion is, and I think that helps us retain that interest and excitement, especially if it's the hands-on experience with students. Support our programs individually, attend and volunteer at networking events, sign up to be a partner for Robobots. That'll start again in October. So if you're wanting to work with students throughout the year, October to April, there's opportunities to volunteer at our Robobots competition, the end of April. Sign up to be a host site. As I mentioned, for the SMI camps, they love that. I think we might have a couple days left. Send your people to the apprenticeship program and take a look at the classes that we have as well. So, I want to thank our sponsors, Griffin Tech and Process Technology. Thank you to John Roberto. He was here earlier dropping off food. It looked beautiful. Hopefully it was tasty. I always thank the facility, and it's just kind of interesting to be able to thank you all for building this facility for us, because, I think last year it was thank you to the Mentor schools for allowing us to use Paradigm, and now we're here. We appreciate Secretary LaRose's message, and I have one final thing that I want to do. Do you want to grab that? Roger and Allison, can you come up? You want to come up here, Roger? Many of us here today know the story of the last 20 years and Roger's passion to share manufacturing with future generations. Being known in Northeast Ohio as the manufacturing maven, the moniker given to him by Crane's Cleveland Business in 2012. Some know the story of the cannons of freedom that started the journey towards AWT over 31 years ago. The foundation of all of this was a love story for the ages. A team of two who forged ahead in life as married partners, parents, and best friends. Theirs was truly a recipe for success in all aspects of life. A commitment to God, family, and business, and at work. Roger speaks often about the love of his life. Judy was the rock, the steady, sensible one. As Roger would say, she was a nice girl, a good girl. She always kept him on track. Her mother got him back in line and did goofy, crazy things. So often you see the success, but you do not see the struggles, the lean years, and the hard work that went into getting here. Roger and Judy created and grew a business, raised a family, and continually gave back and invested in the future for their children and grandchildren. They were partners in everything, and we are all grateful for the legacy they have created for their family, their employees, and the future of manufacturing in Northeast Ohio. We've all heard Roger say, we just have to keep trying. Thank you to the Sustar family for continuing to drive this mission forward. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I'm honored to present you with a plaque that will hang in the vestibule of this building commemorating the legacy of Judith A. and Roger J. Sustar. It reads, "This building is dedicated in honor and recognition of Judith and Roger's outstanding commitment and distinguished service to the future of manufacturing in Northeast Ohio. In gratitude to Judith A. and Roger J. Sustar for over 54 years of exemplary servant leadership and unwavering dedication to making a difference for the next generation, a legacy of promoting rewarding careers in manufacturing." Kim? Let's have you just be careful.
Excuse me. It's hard to catch my breath. That was my favorite picture. It's before she passed. That was Mother's Day? That was Mother's Day 21 when she passed away on her birthday in July of 21. All I gotta say is to each and every one of you, everybody that's helped, I can't thank you enough. I know you call me a crazy son of a bitch, and that's okay. I bug the shit out of everybody in this room, and you know that. I will constantly bug you, because if we don't do something, we're never going to win this war. Because we're at war to get employees, we're at war to survive, we're at war fighting the state, fighting the city, fighting the federal government, fighting everything. And it's hard, and the only way we do it is just what we're doing. We all work together. That is the most important thing of all. That's why we started this stupid breakfast. It ended up being this, because this is the glitz that will get the kids to come here. If you ever have an event that you want to do here, we're excited. We have PM PA and a skirmishing association is going to do it at our board meeting here. We have a lot of good things going on. And all I can tell you all is, I know I feel bad. I keep yelling at everybody all the time. But if I don't, nobody's going to do it. And we got to do it, because you cannot depend on anybody else to do anything. You have to depend on yourself. So please continue. Please keep doing all this. I'm just absolutely, Chris Hitchcock is gone. And he's always gone. The AWT Foundation. Ron's still here? Okay, good. Ron's still here. You guys, with the challenge, I have to tell everybody the story. When Chris and the AWT Foundation told us that they were going to give us $1 million to start this building, I thought it was $1 million. Okay, so it was, but over time. So I came home and I talked to Judy. This was in 2020 or 2021, I don't remember. The years are kind of messed up because of her passing, but I told her, I says, honey, write me a check for $250,000. I want to give it to AWT, and we're going to start this building. And she goes, are you effing crazy? And my wife never swore, never in her life, until I said that. And then I told her, well, you don't get a tax write-off for the whole year. And then she said, okay, fine, I'll do this. We did it, and we did pay, and it was just... And then I went around to all you guys in this room. Was Kristen here? And Kristen's dad, I got him to commit to the same thing, which was wonderful. I got Chuck Harris from Allcraft and Kevin to commit to the same thing. Stair was committed to the same thing. A lot of people did this, and now we're up to $4-point-something million, including the property that we donated. What is it, 2.5 acres? 2.5 acres, we donated the property. And freaking attorneys took the whole 18 months just to get the damn property transferred. Attorneys got their money. But all I can say is it's a dream come true. It's hard to imagine, like Peter and Tony over here, a little Slovenian kid from East 66 and Blitz is here in Menlo, Ohio, doing all this stuff, and it's just, I could not do it without all of you. You guys are, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just a pusher, and you guys are the guys that are getting it done. And I do appreciate everything you all do. And if you could do more, do more. That's all I can ask, because we cannot stop. We just have to keep going. And all I can tell you is it's God, it's family, and then all of this. Thank you.
She said he behaved himself, so she was good. Thank you all, and thank you for bearing with us as we went over a little bit. If you have questions about anything we have going on coming up in the coming months, please reach out and check out the classes that are available. If you want to add somebody to the apprenticeship, that's a great 10 minutes